looking at what it appears to be, and I know these things are quite times amorphous and they're hard to get a hold of, but the market view is sort of moving away from the company view. And anyone who bought after the Kinger announcement, which is about 800 million shares, are all underwater. I'm a long-term holder and I'm getting a bit frustrated that a lot of other long-term holders are getting in my ear about, we're now seriously undervalued. What does the board think? Are they concerned? What are the actions? Would they defend the company in some sort of 60-80 cent opportunistic fair value? I think everyone's doing a great job, so I want to put that on the record.
No,
but just the final question is that when I hear Stuart talk about the Dandaragan Trough, it's been tremendous technical achievement to turn conventional wisdom on its head. And I'd love the shareholder, I'm a long-term shareholder, I'd love the shareholders in this room to feel that we can participate in the true optionality going forward. So that's enough, but can you just describe how you're going to do that?
I'm really glad that, we didn't close the meeting because these things are very dear to our heart. We talk about this all the time. I've been in the financial markets for over 45 years, and I do recall being taught at university the efficient market hypothesis, which is nonsense, but anyway. We are concerned that there may well be some nefarious activity going on in the market. Forget the arbitrage between Warrego and us. We don't think, delivered better news. Sure, you get a bit of buy the rumour, sell the fact, but the activity, which has actually been quite aggressive in the market, would suggest that there is some kind of activity which may well be designed to lower the weighted volume average price as a precursor to a hostile approach. And if that's the case, then rest assured we're actually looking forensically at the register, and if we see anything that we think warrants action by the regulator, we are going to take action. Because obviously, yes, everyone has a right to expect that their stocks traded freely and at the appropriate value. And these things are an art, not a science. But to give you an idea, Petra, I think Craig's in the room, the analyst, is suggesting that on the numbers we have already, the stock's worth 55 cents. So if it's trading at whatever it is, 20, 21, whatever, there's a very, very substantial.
19.5 yesterday.
Yeah, it's 20 this morning. Anyway, it does, so the reality is you've got a competent analyst who received all the information saying that the stock is, well under what he thinks that it should be trading at. Why did it go so aggressively, from where it did around that time of the announcement? We don't know. It just defies logic. You know that there's a lot of short selling activity in the ASX, a lot of which is, unhelpful in my view. But you can't imagine someone taking stock in a placement and then suddenly selling it down. You would have thought that people would have looked at the announcement and thought, yes, there's the actual facts of what's being discovered and announced, but also that optionality to which you referred. You would have thought that the market would respond in a completely different way. And if it isn't, then why and who has to gain from something like that?
Do you think there was a leak from Petra with capital raising?
Big pardon?
A leak from Petra with capital raising for 23 cents. I watched it from that morning. It went from 30.5 within 4 minutes of this continuous down to 24 by the end of the day.
I'll take that one. So when you go out and raise capital, you typically roadshow through all the investment funds around Australia.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the timing. If they want to come in at 23, let them come in at 23 prior to the flow rate announcement. If they want to come in after the flow rate announcement, let them pay 30.
So the timing of the capital raise was such that there was still near-term news remaining and catalysts so that we could build a book of robust and good quality investment names as we start to try and institutionalise the register. The lead up to a capital raise is quite noticeable.
I appreciate that, but then you made the statement where you've got 1.2 trillion cubic feet of gas in place, and the share price goes down to 19. I watched it all day. You've got the pots in there trading 1 share, 4 share all day, and this is beside a trading on manipulation at its best. What I'm thinking is it a hostile takeover going?
And that's sort of what John was pointing to, is if there is activity in the market which is, against the rules of trading, we will bring it to the view of the regulator.
Yeah.
We're keeping a very close eye on our register as well as who owns shares and how those shares are being traded. I think what I'm really focusing my time and my management's time on is the delivering things that we can control, which is strong fundamentals. And at the end of the day, the fundamentals will be what the valuation of any company is for any takeover activity. It will not be the market price. You don't sell a TCF of gas at a bargain basement price, right? So that is the true valuation. And the closer that we can get to full definition of that gas resource, as well as the prospective gas resources around that area, the better valuation, the better strength of our valuation we will have. That's what I can control. I can't control what happens on market. And you can take it me at my word, that's what I'm working very hard every day to deliver.
And the board feels exactly the same. And, the irony of kind of going through all this pain and therefore, kind of stress, if you like, and then having the success, only losing control of the wrong price, is something we would, do what we could to avoid. At the end of the day, the board just represents the shareholders. Yeah. So we can by all means make a recommendation and we can vigorously defend, but at the end of the day, we can't stop individual shareholders trading their stock. Oh, some of whom have been on the register for a very long time and waiting patiently for some kind of outcome. And again, we're probably waiting for an outcome from the Cooper Basin rather than something out in Western Australia. But at the end of the day, I think what you want to hear from us is that we would vigorously defend any kind of hostile takeover bid that we thought undervalued the company. And you can rest assured that, we think that there's almost orders of magnitude of undervaluation at the moment. If it's been caused by someone who's actually planning to launch a bid and getting the volume, the weighted price down so that the bid looks more attractive, we would, again, I've been involved with the regulator for a long time, we would be having something to say about that. Because that's actually, it's against the law, it's also criminal. Yeah. It's against the corporation.
I've got a quick one, might clear things up. Is the board still looking 100% not to take a takeover?
Sorry, is the board
not looking to take a takeover?
Yeah, like you said, you wanted to develop to a mid-cap company, is still 100% on that target?
That's where we believe that the right trajectory of the company is placed. And whilst I'm the managing director, that's what the direction I'll be taking the company. Cool. If there is corporate activity that occurs on that journey, as we say, we can make a recommendation to the shareholders, but it's ultimately you who will make that decision, not me.
It's not our money, it's yours.
I'll just add something as well about the credit raise. The credit raise at the 6.5 cents, we fell down to 5.4 cents. That's about the same ratio that we've fallen down to now at 19.5. So I'm not even worried, just in my opinion.
Just got a sneaky TCF of gas in the back pocket.
That's right, mate.
There's been criticism about the timing of the quantum. We've been in situations before where, metaphorically, you're looking at the abyss, looking like you're going to run out of money. And we didn't want to continue to be, as we've moved into 2020, in that position. So, yeah, sure, we could have raised 10, not 30. But then come March, April, everyone said, well, you need more money, So we wanted to be able to fund the 3D, commit to these two wells, have some extra runway, and put beyond doubt the fact that we have enough cash. At the end of the day, it's all about cost of capital. At the time, we weren't happy with 23, but that's what the market would pay.
You've just said, I think you've done a fantastic job, by the way, so I'm not complaining, but I'm just curious. I think there's lots of people curious to know why you didn't wait to do the capital raising for a couple of weeks while you booked up your 2C. Why did you not wait till then? And also call a trading halt for the capital raise. And I think that might have stopped the ridiculous trading that happened.
Yeah, I think we've again tried to forensically look at this. There were 2 or 3 events that occurred both in the capital markets where other people were raising substantial amounts of money. There was the Bahara Springs announcement. So you might want to talk to that, because Stuart, we were all involved, but Stuart was right in the middle of all of that, and also taking advice from Petra, who was actually the one managing the raise.
Yep, sorry.
It only takes, it's only a couple of weeks we're talking about. That's the
right.
issue.
Look, I've been a part of 3 or 4 capital raises at Strike since my time as managing director. And I can certainly say to you, the worst thing that we could have done is waited until that we had no more news. Because as you can see, and after the flow rate announcement, a lot of that initial selling was coming from the retail end of the market of people perceiving that the company was now ex-news. With the resource statement still to come, we believed and took the view that that was enough of a near-term catalyst for high-quality names to bid into a robust capital raising book. We needed to raise substantial capital, an amount of capital that Strike had never raised previously, and we wanted to make sure that we were going to do that successfully. And so we decided that it was going to be well-timed, post the flow test, before the resource statement. Now, the sell down that occurred between the flow test and when we went into trading halt, you would have seen that we ate a day of suspension as part of our capital raising program. We brought the trading halt forward a day because we believed that there was news in the market that was probably not helpful towards our capital raise. Whether that was the capital raise itself or whether it was a perception with the discovery of the Bahara Springs deep field that there might be additional cheap gas or low cost gas in the market that would undermine our investment thesis. There are several things that you can point to at that point in time, including $270-something million taken out of the equity markets by Karoon around that period of time for their capital raising, that caused people's view on oil and gas ASX listed energy companies. So we took the advice, we acted upon it, and we did. I can tell you right now that on the day in the trenches, we were holding very firm and looking after the shareholders' best interests. The amount of heated phone calls over matters of sense that we were talking about did occur, and at one point in time, the board did look to reduce the size of the capital raise or to maybe postpone it based on the price that we were looking to achieve versus the price that we were being offered. Luckily, we got the outcome that we were looking for. We raised all the money that we need, and now I can stand up in front of you and say the pathway from where we are today to that FID that's going to be at the end of the next calendar year is now funded.
And you've heard, obviously, in terms of capital management, the closer we get to FID, if we do need additional capital, the debt market's open. And obviously, that's non-dilutive for the equity holders. So
I just think that the issue was that people sold at 30 cents knowing there was a capital raising. They had the information knowing that there was a definite capital raising happening and sold at 30 cents and left them the opportunity to buy back in again at 23. I think that was the thing that's...
Well, my 2-year-old daughter could have told you there was a capital raise coming. I mean, we put out a very, very substantial plan of how we were going to deliver the value for shareholders. We raised $12 million in May. We were at the end of our capital program. We've done the piloting on Jaws. We've drilled the well.
Yeah, it's the timing.
We put our quarterly out that showed that we had
Yeah, sure, I know that. It's the timing. That was just unfortunate timing, I think.
The closer that you would have taken that to the end of the cash in bank, I can guarantee you wouldn't have raised the money at 23 cents. It would have been a lot lower.
Yeah, I accept that now, yeah.
Don't get us going about participants in the capital markets because we've been deeply unhappy about this, I can tell you.
And now that you've gone to the mum and dad investors for the 5 million, which you're obviously never going to get now, is that going to cause a problem for your...
No, I mean, there's been some angst about the SPP as well. I mean, obviously, the alternative in capital raise is to go a rights issue. And we would imagine there would have been a significant shortfall. It takes a long time to do a rights issue.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if the stock was trading at 28, we hadn't offered an SPP, then people would have been rightly upset they'd been denied the opportunity to buy stock at 23. And so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. What we pitched it at was not being material in terms of money we really needed. Now, who knows between now and the time the SPP closes what share price does. If it's 25, 26, presumably we get the 5 million. We're not relying on it, but we wanted to offer the shareholders the opportunity of not being diluted as we saw the situation at that time.
Oh, yeah, you had to do that. You had to do that for.
We also see it as a very
But-
attractive opportunity. The participants in the capital, in the placement, did not have the ability to have the resource statement certified in front of them to know exactly what the fundamental recoverable resource is. You do have that now. You can now look at the company and say, is it worth 23 cents? That's an assessment for you to make at this point in time. The market's currently undervaluing us, and we're saying that we believe we're strongly undervalued. But you have the benefit of all of the information to make your investment or not.
Plus now you can get them at 20 cents.
Buy them up to 24 for me.
Can I have yours?
The SVP is 23 cents. The market closed last night at 19.5. Why would I buy the SVP?
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, at the moment, absolutely.
I just went on the market, buy
But
it.
you know,
But
like,
that doesn't work out for you.
unfortunately, I don't know, but, you know, this is with hindsight. At the time, we wanted to offer the opportunity that institutional excluded parties under the Corps Act were being given to buy stock at less than the then current market. If we didn't offer it to shareholders and the stock went up, then we would be rightly criticised for excluding you. The stock goes down and you say, why do you do it? You know, this fair question,
But
but that's
also
the
what I'm saying
rationale.
is, I got on the market at 19.5. You guys aren't getting the benefit of the capital rating.
Well, we are in the sense that, you know, the more people that buy 19.5, 20, 21, 22, you know, the cost of capital goes down for us as the share price goes up. And the closer we get to 23, the more likely people are to, in fact, participate. You know, the fear of missing out kind of thing. But, you know, all these points are valid. It's just we're presented with a certain set of circumstances at a particular time, and you have to make a call.
The $5 million as in part of the SPP will not affect the delivery of that plan. It is more discretionary to advance exploration activities.
That's what we wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah.
There you go.
Not complaining about the SPP. I've fully
Anyway,
supported that. I was just asking whether that $5 million is material to your plan next year.
We have a question, yes?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, this is a healthy discussion and I appreciate hindsight, so maybe with foresight. The one thing we don't want to see, John, and I've got a deep history in capital markets as well, and I understand how Comico pushed away BG when they did the deal with, Origin pushed the deal BG away when they did a very smart deal with Comico. I think that, you know, this is, I might be a great discussion. What probably we're hoping for, I mean, I think that it sounds like from the board it's gone from sort of to an alert phase, if not an alarm, about the share price. We don't want to have this sort of like hindsight about being sold for 45 cents.
No.
So, and just to reiterate that, we have an analyst who prices the stock at 55, we do a CA at 20, you know, capital raise at 23. So there's a lot of data points around the room here of slight discontent. So, you know, you can take that for what it is.
Sure.
But the key thing that we're hoping for with people like Neville on the board, other people on the board, yourself, you know, impeccable contacts, is that what would have been fabulous for the share price in my mind if Woodside or if Wesfarmers had taken a strategic stake or just something, I mean, this to me seems to be one of the great wealth creation opportunities right under the nose of WA Inc. I guess there's an expectation here that's slightly being separated from what we thought about how things are just playing out. And we just want you to arrest
No, and look, I think, you know, it's worth noting that you can imagine we have conversations with people like that. We've got an existing relationship with Wesfarmers because of the option that they took out when we had no gas to offer, so that was quite a gutsy call, really, I suppose. The problem is always that these people are metaphoric 1,000-pound gorillas compared with us, and you can rest assured they want to extract their pound of flesh. And if we do a deal, even to get a cornerstone like one of those companies on the register, then it's likely to be accompanied by them extracting a lot of value out of the optionality of the gas we have to sell. And again, you know, when you do those kind of numbers, you think we're better off, in a sense, taking a bit of dilution and not giving someone an opportunity as a cornerstone to block what might be an attractive takeover down the track, and not give up the option that comes from the kind of uplift in the gas price that Stuart's talking about in his presentation. But rest assured, we've had lots of conversations like that. We've also pursued at this early stage the opportunity of getting debt rather than equity. It's just too early.
Yeah.
So yeah, these things are, we're all shareholders, reasonably substantial ones for you know, relative to our our resources. And so we're very much aligned with the rest of the shareholders about trying to extract what you say is a very, very substantial opportunity. Unfortunately, a lot of the history that's come before with Strike is issuing paper and not getting resolved for it. So that's the last thing we want to do.
So I'll say one thing, just one thing. I'd just like to congratulate the board for what they've done. It's been outstanding. You've actually delivered stuff. But I took up the 11.5 cent raising and it went down to 6 cents, and 11.5 cents looks all right now at 20. I think in a year's time, 23 might look all right as well. So you've got to believe in what you guys are doing and how you're using the money. I think there's a huge gap between what you're delivering and what the market's doing. And I think what's going on in the market is questionable. So you just got to bank. You talk about putting 23 cents in, well, that's a decision you make. But in hindsight, it might be a great decision when the price is a lot higher.
Nev would tell you about when Fortescue went down to $1.65 based on people thinking it was going to go broke. All the time he was moving away on what he saw as his, reason for existence, which is to get the costs down and get production up. Stock's $8.50 today. Sometimes the markets do get it wrong.
It's part of the journey.
Yep. Sorry.
This is a question regarding the sale of all this gas that you've got.
Sure.
Now, you've given us some good indications as to where the gas might be sold, how it would compete with coal in terms of price. You've also said you're the leader of the pack, that organisations or companies might want to sell gas. I think that's what you've said. I guess it's a general question in terms of, you mentioned the Badara processing plant, but will you have access to that if the Deep Springs come good and Beach, etc., really want to use it for their purposes? And similarly, what about the capacity of the two gas plants that you mentioned?
Sure. For the phase 1 development. Yep.
So that's my concern, is that I'm not sure about how all this gas from this, what's it, the 10th biggest gas resource in the world, I think I read a few years ago, is the Perth Basin. And so the next one is a sort of pie in the sky thing, but do you know of any current considerations that are taking place or planning for users of this gas that we haven't heard about?
Sure.
There's someone talking about LNG, so,
I'll give you a flavour for all of that. Right. So Mitsui has said categorically they will build, own and operate their own gas plant for Waitsia. They're building a 250 million standard cubic feet a day gas plant at the Waitsia field, of where Waitsia is an insufficient size resource to be able to fully deplete, to fill that gas plant. Likely, any future discoveries from the Beach Mitsui joint venture that runs alongside the Strike acreage will be tied into that. Part of the tendering process of that gas plant when it was being run by AWE, APA were sort of saying, hey, bring the gas over to Mondara and we'll use Mondara. Mondara has been excluded from that process. So currently, Mondara has between 70 to 150 terajoules a day of compression and processing capacity, which is available for our use. So Mondara is very much underutilised and there's nothing sort of knocking on its door. The Beharra Springs gas plant is around 20 terajoules a day. I would suspect that the Beharra Springs deep exploration well that has been successfully drilled would likely tie into that. That gas plant itself has only been producing about 7 terajoules a day from the newly depleted Beharra Springs Wodgina field over the last 20 years or so. Discussions with Beach about collaboration in the basin are evolving, and potentially do we participate in a rehabilitation of the Beharra Springs gas plant, an expansion of that for tying in West Erregulla? How does that compete in the competitiveness against the Mondara option? We're lucky in that there are several options of existing infrastructure, let alone building our own gas plant, which could also prove to be a competitive way forward. Now, in terms of the uses of gas, I have more petrochemical companies knocking on my door than I know what to do with. I've become a world expert on methanol, urea, and ammonia recently. And I never thought of it, there, as I was sort of alluding to, West Australia is very strategically located for the boutique markets of methanol, urea, and ammonia, which is sort of the South China coast, as well as Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Now, if you could get a petrochemical facility of scale built in Western Australia, you will save US $1 per unit of chemical in transportation differences from the chemicals coming out of the US. You can make globally competitive petrochemicals in Western Australia at the right gas price. And so what we're currently assessing, given that we have a low cost of supply, is do we want to underpin the building of a petrochemical plant, or can we actually extract additional value by pushing the traditional producers of gas in Western Australia out of the market by keeping just under their cost of supply, which is might still be a margin above petrochemicals. And then thirdly, as I said, the LNG facilities, they are all FID'd against an initial resource. There is a second phase of resources that are being looked for to backfill those opportunities. Certainly, the Mitsui Beach joint venture is looking at potentially putting their gas from Waitsia into the back through the back door of the Northwest Shelf LNG facility. So, and then you get to, if we're all incredibly successful and this whole sort of 6 TCF that I sort of can see evolving occurs in the area, is there an argument for a new train of LNG at Wheatstone or at Pluto or something along those lines? And does the Perth Basin conglomerate gas have enough volume to underpin that? Does it have enough volume to bring the west to east pipeline conversation back onto the table? I see such a huge gamut of where we can put our gas at the moment at attractive prices well above our cost of supply, that I feel very comfortable that we have a big commercial project at hand.
Thanks, sir.
Can I, maybe one more question and then we'll...
I got a quick one, and I just forgot it. Don't worry about it. Couldn't have been important.
Anyone else? Last question? Look, on behalf of the board, I very much appreciate all of you coming today and for the questions and for your support. It's another big year coming up for us, and we hope you all stay with us on the journey. Thanks again.
I think the board need a round of applause for delivering it today.
Please join us outside.